Hello students, welcome back to the third part of the nuclear reaction. So in this session we will be learning about the Q value of a nuclear reaction. That is, we are going to derive an expression for the Q value of a nuclear reaction. So in the previous session we have discussed what do you mean by the Q value of a reaction. That is nothing but the total energy that is been released or absorbed in any nuclear reaction. So is what we call it as a Q value of a nuclear reaction. So Q value of a nuclear reaction is defined as the total amount of energy released or energy absorbed in any nuclear reaction is what we call it as Q value of a nuclear reaction. So there are two types of energy that is being released. So based on that, nuclear reactions can be classified into exothermic or endothermic. If energy is being released, so then the nuclear reaction will be known as exothermic. If energy is being absorbed, then that particular nuclear reaction is called as an endothermic. Okay, so now let us apply some conservation laws in order to calculate the Q value of a nuclear reaction. So the conservation laws that is being used to obtain an expression for the Q value of the reaction is, that is by using the law of conservation of energy, law of conservation of energy, and second one is the law of conservation of linear momentum. By using these two conservation laws, so we are going to calculate the Q value of the nuclear reaction. So in the conservation laws, there is the law of conservation of nuclear reaction says that the total energy of the projectile, that is the incident particle, and the target nucleus must be equal to the total energy of the ejectile and the residual nucleus after the nuclear reaction. So this is what we call it as a law of conservation of energy in case of a nuclear reaction. Similarly, in case of the law of conservation of linear momentum, that is the total momentum before the nuclear reaction and the total momentum after the reaction must be the same. So this is what the two conservation law states. So by keeping this, so we will be finding out the expression for the Q value of the nuclear reaction. So this expression is very important. So there will be some numerical problems, okay, on your examinations, and also there are some derivations. Okay, so this derivation will be appearing in your examination very frequently, and the numerical problems are also important in this session. So now let us get into the theory part, that is how to derive the expression by using these conservation laws. So for this, initially I will consider, that is we have an projectile. Okay, so that is the incident particle. So let the mass of this incident particle be taken as m1, and its energy is E1, and its linear momentum be equal to P1. Okay, so this energy is nothing but the kinetic energy of this projectile or the incident particle. So this particle or the projectile is made to incident or the target nucleus, which is having a rest mass of m0. Okay, as a result of this nuclear reaction, that is when this projectile is made to bombard on this target nucleus, so we have the residual nucleus that is formed and the ejectile that is formed. So let the ejectile be having a linear momentum of P2, let the mass of the ejectile be m2, and let E2 be the kinetic energy of the ejectile. Similarly, in the same manner, the residual nucleus also has a certain mass m3, okay, and it has a linear momentum of P3, and it has a kinetic energy of E3. Okay, now let us see the law of conservation of energy, that is how to apply the law of conservation of energy for this particular reaction. So according to law of conservation of that is law of conservation of energy for a nuclear reaction. So according to the law of conservation of energy, so the total energy of the reactants, that is the target nucleus and the projectile, before the nuclear reaction must be equal to the total energy of the residual nucleus and the ejectile that is being formed. So therefore, now since m1 is the mass of the projectile into c square, so this will get us the rest mass energy of the projectile, and since it is moving with the kinetic energy of E1, so this becomes the energy of the projectile. Since the target nucleus is at rest, so therefore it has only the rest mass, so therefore it can be written as m naught c square. So this is the total energy before the nuclear reaction, and this must be equal to m2 c square. Okay, this is nothing but that is E2. So this is the total energy of the ejectile plus m3 c square plus E3. So this is the rest mass energy of the residual nucleus, and this is the kinetic energy of the residual nucleus, and this is the kinetic energy of the ejectile that we have. So let us take this as equation number 1. Okay, so now we can say that m1 c square, m0 c square, m2 c square, m3 c square are the rest mass energies of the projectile, target nucleus, ejectile and the residual nucleus. So therefore, if I simplify this equation, we can write equation 1 can be written as, or this, let us take m1 c square plus m0 c square. This m2, if it comes to the left hand side, it will be m2 c square minus m3 c square. Okay, this must be entirely equal to E2 plus E3. Okay, I'll take this E1 to the right hand side such that it becomes minus E1. So this will be equal to Q, that is nothing but the total energy that is being released in a nuclear reaction. That is what we call it as a Q value of the nuclear reaction, and let us take this as equation number 2. Or we can write m1 plus m0 minus m2 minus m3 into c square. This must be equal to E2 plus E3 minus E1, which is equal to Q, or let us take this as equation number 2. Okay, no problem. Now we have, that is the Q value of the nuclear reaction as E2 plus E3 minus E1. So I'll take this as equation number 3. So now we have to find out the value of E2, E1 and E3. Okay, so here E2 is nothing but the kinetic energy of the ejectile, right? So in the diagram we can see here, there is E2 is the kinetic energy of the ejectile and E1 is the kinetic energy of your projectile. Okay, so these two can be found out very easily. Okay, but the thing is E3, so this is a what we call as a residual nucleus. So this residual nucleus will be having the kinetic energy, it will be having less kinetic energy. So therefore it is little bit difficult to measure E3 directly. So therefore, with the help of law of conservation of linear momentum, we have to calculate the value of E3. Okay, got it, students? See here in this equation we have E2 plus E3 minus E1. So E1 will be the kinetic energy of the projectile, and E3 is the kinetic energy of the residual nucleus, and E2 is the kinetic energy of your ejectile. So E1 and E2 can be found out experimentally, that is it can be measured easily, whereas this E3, that is the kinetic energy of the residual nucleus, so since it is little bit small when compared to your target nucleus, so it is little bit difficult to measure the kinetic energy of this residual nucleus that we get. So therefore we have to measure it indirectly. So that is with the help of law of conservation of linear momentum, we have to find out this kinetic energy E3, and if we substitute in this equation number 3, that is a value, finding the value of E3 by using law of conservation of linear momentum, and substituting in this equation number 3, you will get the total energy that is being released in a nuclear reaction, that is the Q value of your nuclear reaction. Now according to, or if we use law of conservation of linear momentum, okay, I can write, that is by using the law of conservation of linear momentum, we can write, that is P1 is the linear momentum of the projectile. So this must be equal to P2 plus P3, that is the linear momentum of the ejectile and the linear momentum of the residual nucleus. But in the diagram we can see that this is the direction in which the ejectile is moving, and this is the direction. Okay, so this is the direction in which the residual nucleus is moving, and this is the direction in which your ejectile is moving. So now we need the value of this momentum, that is linear momentum of the ejectile and the linear momentum of the residual nucleus along this x-axis. Okay, so we have to resolve the component of the momentum of the ejectile and the residual nucleus along the x-axis. Okay, so now we are going to resolve this momentum of the ejectile and the residual nucleus along the x-axis. That is, we are going to calculate what should be the, or what will be the value of this ejectile along the x-axis. That is, linear momentum of the ejectile along the x-axis and linear momentum of the residual nucleus along the x-axis. So by using this and substituting in equation number 4, so you are going to calculate the value of the linear momentum. Okay, so later on we will be calculating E3. So therefore finally we will get the Q value of the nuclear reaction. Now let us calculate the value of P2 and P3. That is the linear momentum of the ejectile and the linear momentum of the residual nucleus along the x-axis. So therefore that is momentum along x direction, that is components along x direction. See, in this diagram, if you look into, we have this linear momentum P1 before the nuclear reaction along the x-axis itself. So what is the linear momentum before the nuclear reaction along the x-axis? Means it is P1 itself. So therefore I'll write it as P1 of x component. This is equal to P2, that is the linear momentum of the ejectile along the x direction, plus P3 along the x direction. So this remains as it is as P1. So if I resolve this, the linear component of the ejectile, so this is your P2, right? So this is your linear momentum P2 of the ejectile. So this is making an angle theta with the x-axis, that is the angle made by the ejectile with the x-axis is theta. So since it is lying neither along x-axis nor along y-axis, I will resolve this component. So the horizontal component or the x component of this P2 is P cos theta, and here we have the vertical component, so this is P2 sin theta. Okay, now therefore this P2 can be written as, so since we are writing the x component, so therefore the x component of the momentum of the ejectile will be written as P2 into cos theta. So similarly we have this residual nucleus which is having a momentum of P3. So the this residual nucleus is making an angle of pi with the x-axis. So therefore I'll write the component of this P3 along the x direction as P3 into cos pi. So if I resolve this into horizontal and vertical components, this is your horizontal component and this is your vertical component. Here it is P3 sin pi. Okay, here it is x, that is x component is P3 cos pi. So therefore I'll write P3 x component as P3 cos pi. So this is equation number 5. Okay, hope you understood, students. So I have resolved this P2, that is the value of this vector P2 along x direction. Since it is making, that is P2 is making an angle theta with the x direction, so therefore the x component or the horizontal component of P2 is P2 cos theta, and this P3, that is the residual nucleus, is making an angle of pi with the x direction. So I'll write the horizontal component of P3, that is the linear momentum of the residual nucleus, as P3 cos pi, and its vertical component will be P3 sin pi. Okay, now here we need only the x component, so therefore we have substituted only the x component. So similarly we had to write the components of linear momentum along the y direction also. So we shall calculate the component of this linear momentum of residual and the product nucleus, residual and the ejectile along the x direction. So if I apply the law of momentum along y direction, okay, that is if I calculate the vertical components. So in this diagram we can see that there is no component of the projectile in the vertical direction. Okay, so therefore, so the linear momentum will be written, or it can be taken as 0, since the component of the that is a projectile along the y component is 0, and the linear momentum component along the y direction of the ejectile and the residual nucleus can be written as like this. Okay, so therefore 0 is equal to, so in this diagram we can see that the component, there is a vertical component or the y component of this ejectile is P2 sine theta, right, minus, and this is in the negative y direction, that is the vertical component of the residual nucleus along this y direction or the vertical direction, it is along the negative y direction, so therefore it is P3 sine pi. So this is equation number 6. So our previous equation was 0 is equal to P2 sine theta minus P3 sine pi. That is the vertical components of the momentum, that is linear momentum of the ejectile, projectile and the residual nucleus. But we know that the relation between momentum and the energy, there is a kinetic energy as P square is equal to 2 into m into E. Okay. Now I can write P is equal to square root of 2 into m into E. Now, so we have the equation number 5 as, that is equation number 5 we have the value as P1 is equal to P2 into cos theta plus P3 into cos pi. So this is the value of the equation number 5. So now I am going to substitute this value of momentum in terms of energy. Why? Because why we are using law of conservation of energy means we need the expression for the energy of the residual nucleus, which is very less. So we are using the law of conservation of linear momentum to calculate E3. So therefore I am converting this linear momentum into energy, or I am writing this momentum value in terms of energy. Okay, so therefore substitute or convert the equation number 5 and 6 into in terms of energy, then it will be easy for us to calculate the value of this residual nucleus. Now here I can write square root of 2 into m1 is nothing but the mass of the projectile. So therefore this P1 can be written as square root of 2 into m1 mass of the projectile into kinetic energy of the projectile. This is equal to square root of 2 into m2 is nothing but the mass of the ejectile and E2 is its kinetic energy, and don't include this cos theta into the square root. So this P2 or square root is only for the momentum term. So cos theta is independent of the square root. So writing in a hurry, don't mix this cos theta into the square root. So similarly we have P3. So therefore it can be written as 2 into m3 into E3, where m3 is nothing but the mass of the residual nucleus and E3 is its kinetic energy, and we have of course cos pi not to be included into the square root. So if I simplify this, see square root of 2, square root of 2, square root of 2, it is common throughout the equation. So therefore I will just rewrite this equation as root of m1 e1 is equal to square root of m2 e2 into cos theta plus square root of m3 into e3 into cos pi. So I'll take this equation as equation number 7. Okay, so we have simplified equation 5. That is, we have written equation number 5, which was entirely in terms of momentum. We have rewritten this in terms of energy. Okay, so now we shall convert this equation 6, which is in terms of momentum, to in terms of energy. Okay, so now let us recall this equation number 6. So equation number 6 is 0, that is the linear momentum along the y-axis is 0 for the projectile, but for the ejectile we have P sine theta, and for the residual nucleus we have P sine pi. Okay, so if I apply this P is equal to square root of 2me on this, so we have 0 is equal to square root of 2m2 into E2 into sine theta, right? So minus square root of 2 times m3 into E3 into sine pi. So this is the conversion of this equation number 6 in terms of momentum to in terms of the energy. Okay, got it, students? Now if I simplify this, because here we have the negative sign, so take this to the right hand side and cancel this root 2 on both the sides. So the equation remaining is m2 e2 into sine theta is equal to square root of m3 into e3 into sine pi. So I'll take this equation as equation number 8. So now next step what we need to do is we need to square this equation number 7, and so I'll rewrite this equation number 7. Okay, so I'll take this m2 e2 cos theta to the left hand side. Why? Because we need to calculate e3. So therefore I'll rewrite this equation in this format. So that is, I'll take this m2 e2 cos theta which was on the right hand side to the left hand side. So now squaring of equation number, this equation, squaring of this equation, we get m1 e1, and here it is a square plus b square, so it is m2 e2 into cos square theta minus 2 into square root of m1 m2 e1 e2 into cos theta. Okay, so this is in the form of a minus b the whole square. A square means square of this, square root and square gets cancelled, and here we have cos square theta on the left hand side. Okay, it is m3 e3 into cos square pi. So let us take this equation as equation number 9. Don't get confused. I have rewritten equation 7 in this form. That is, it was in the right hand side. I have taken this term to the left hand side. Okay, now if I square, it is in the form of a minus b the whole square, a square plus b square minus 2 times ab, okay, which is equal to square on the right hand side. So square root and square gets cancelled, and this will get the square. So I'll take this as equation number 9. So we have equation number 8. So squaring of equation number 8 will get you, that is equation 8. Okay, if I square, we get m2 e2 into sine square theta, which is equal to m3 e3 into sine square pi. I'll take this as equation number 10. So now adding equation number 9 and equation number 10. So that is, add equation number 9 with equation number 10. See, here we have, see, look at the left hand side of equation number 9 and 10. Here we have m2 e2 cos square theta, and here we have m2 e2 sin square theta. So if I add these two things, m2 e2 is common, and if I add sin square theta and cos square theta, it will be equal to 1. So therefore I'll write this equation as m1 e1 plus m2 e2. Okay, so this term will be as it is, root of m1 m2 into e1 e2 into cos theta. Okay, I have added entire the term of the equation number 9 and equation number 10. Okay, on the right hand side we have again m3 e3 cos square pi, m3 e3 sin square pi. So if I add these two equations on the right hand side, sin square theta cos square theta, it will be equal to 1. So therefore m3 into e3. Okay, so now I can write this equation as, that is m3 e3 is equal to m1 e1 plus m2 e2 minus 2 into square root of m1 m2 into e1 e2 into cos theta. Okay, I'm just rearranging the equation, that's all. Now I'll divide this entire equation by m3 such that we can get e3, which is equal to m1 e1 divided by m3, okay, plus m2 e2 divided by m3 minus 2 into square root of m1 m2 into e1 e2 into cos theta, the whole divided by m3. I'll take this as equation number 11. Now substitute equation number 11 in equation number 3. So therefore this can be written as, what was equation number 3? Remember that equation number 3 was q is equal to e2 plus e3 minus e1. So we had an intention to calculate e3. So now we have this equation or expression for e3. So therefore I'll write equation number 3 as q is equal to e2 plus, in the place of e3 I'll write it as m1 e1 divided by m3 plus m2 e2 divided by m3 minus 2 into square root of m1 m2 into e1 e2, the whole divided by m3 into cos theta minus e1. Okay, so this was, so now we have found out the expression for E3 and we have substituted the value of E3 in equation number 3, that is here in this equation. So the this is the equation that we have obtained. Now see here we have E2 E2 and here we have E1 E1. Okay, so take common or simplify these things, so we'll get the next equation. So our previous equation was Q is equal to E2 plus M1 E1 by M3 plus M2 into E2 divided by M3 minus 2 into square root of M1 M2 E1 into E2 divided by M3 into cos theta minus E1. So now here we can see that in these two terms, okay, E2 is common. So I'll take out E2 as common and here the remaining terms will be 1 plus M2 divided by M3. Now in this E1 and in this term, okay, we can see that I'll take plus E1 as common, so therefore the remaining term will be M1 by M3 minus 1, right? Okay, if I multiply again I'll get back this equation. So this term remains as it is, there is 2 into square root of M1 M2 into E1 E2 the whole divided by M3 into cos theta. Okay, now this is the final expression for the Q value of the nuclear reaction. So in practically, okay, so the that is the ejectile, okay, will be ejected, okay, so at right angles to the collimated beam. So therefore I'll take theta is equal to 90 degree. So in the diagram we have seen that is theta is the angle made by the ejectile with the x-axis. Okay, so usually in practice, okay, so the ejectile will be ejected in a direction perpendicular to the collimated beam. So this is your collimated beam. Okay, so usually this ejectile will be moving in a direction perpendicular to the collimated beam. So therefore I'll take this theta as 90 degree. Why? Because it is perpendicular. Okay, so therefore I'll take theta is equal to 90 degree. So what happens cos theta? That is, here we have cos of 90 degree. So if I take cos 90 degree, it will be equal to 0. So if I substitute the value of cos 90 degree here, this entire term will get cancelled out. Okay, and the final equation for the Q value of the reaction will be E2 into 1 plus M2 by M3 plus E1 in M1 divided by M3 minus 1. Okay, so this is our final equation for the Q value of any nuclear reaction. Remember that if Q is positive, then energy is released. Then such a type of reaction is called as exorgic or exothermic reaction. And if Q is negative, then energy will be absorbed. Energy will be absorbed and the reaction will be known as endorgic nuclear reaction.